Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles presented by Bolin Media. I am Ross Bolin here with Barrett Dudley to digest and discuss episode 3 of season 2 of House of the Dragon, The Burning Mill.
That's right. I did catch the episode title this go around.
You did it.
Yeah, I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you for that.
We had ourselves another long one last night, Barrett.
Oh, sure, hun.
A 66-minute runtime,
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Sign of the devil.
Sure. A reminder for everyone in the Clam fam, we appreciate all of you very much for being here, for listening on the podcast platforms, for watching on YouTube. Please rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. Do the same on Spotify. And if you're watching on youtube.com/oysters, clams, cockles, please quickly hit the subscribe button, throw us a like, turn on notifications so you know every time we drop a video, and when the mood strikes you during today's show, leave a comment below. Every week, in addition to our public sponsor-based podcast, Barrett and I record and release an ad-free podcast further digesting and dissecting the latest episode of House of the Dragon, driven by hotline calls from our listeners exclusively on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Right now, we are offering a 7-day free trial on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, so you can subscribe and check out the 2 ad-free episodes we've dropped so far this season, and then stick around to support our show and enjoy the ad-free deep dive hotline call podcast for the rest of House of the Dragon Season 2. Please and thank you. That's patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. And there's a ridiculous amount of ad-free content there already for you to enjoy on Patreon, which you can see by clicking on the Collections tab of our page. All right, let's dive into last night's episode of Hot D, where there were multiple Ds exposed, I might add. We will get to whether or not
Were there
they
multiple Ds? I thought I only caught the one D.
Oh, 2 Ds, Barrett. 2
Okay.
Ds.
All right.
We'll get to whether or not they were hot, though.
That is multiple.
First off, did you notice the tapestry-based intro sequence was indeed updated this week?
Was it?
They added Jaehaerys' funeral
Okay.
and the hanging rat catchers.
Interesting. I did think that I caught Jaehaerys like on the
Yeah, there's like a red line
on the
that goes
cart,
across
and there's a red.
his
Yes. I did.
throat.
I did notice that, and I was like, oh, dang! I wonder if they're like kind of like dotting this whole thing with spoilers of, or not really spoilers, but of omens of what's to come.
No, I think
but that was new. That
yes.
was updated. Okay.
Yes. So
All right.
as we
Interesting.
experience things on the show, they're going to be doing little hat tips on the old tapestry-based intro sequence. So episode 3, starts in the Riverlands with 2 families, the Brackens and Blackwoods, arguing over some boundary stones dividing their lands. Some of the cows have wandered across and are eating the grass from the other side's ground.
Well, Ross, I'll tell you what. I reckon they pulled this little bit here, this little plot point here, right from just that beautiful big sky country.
In Yellowstone.
In Yellowstone.
Yeah. So we got these 2 feuding families.
That's a deep cut for longtime listeners of Oysters, Clams, and Goggles.
Indeed it is. So the Brackens are loyal to King Aegon, and the Blackwoods are loyal to Queen Rhaenyra, and words turn to swords pretty quickly. Apparently these people end up having like an all-out battle of the Burning Mill, which we aren't privy to watch, where seemingly like hundreds, if not thousands, were lost on both sides, because they do that zoom out where you see the battlefield, and there's a lot of bodies, like
shitload.
Yeah.
Like it was
So it was a
all
big
out,
deal.
It was all out warfare.
You think it's just going to be like these 5 kids fighting?
Yes.
No.
It led to an all-out, the Battle of the Mill.
It escalated.
The Battle of the
they
burn,
burned
of
the mill.
of the burned mill. Yeah.
The mill was burned. So we later find out the Brackens and Blackwoods have hated each other for so long that nobody even remembers how the feud started, which is kind of like a classic thing in Shakespearean storytelling, right? And really just human history. But also extremely relevant to what this episode addresses at different points regarding the Targaryen conflict. Back on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra and company bury the brothers Arik and Eric together in a shared grave, which felt a little cheap. Just dig one hole, throw them in there. It's fine.
Well, they loved each other.
That's true.
They deserve to be buried together.
Brothers.
Shouts to the slowest grave refiller of all time.
Yeah, he was struggling.
This dude has this tiny little shovel, and it's like he's making an effort to get as little dirt as possible on the shovel each time. He's just kind of like scattering. He's just like doing a dusting of dirt every time he puts that shovel in and then puts it. I found that very strange. I was like, dude, there's got to be a better way.
He was almost looking around like nobody else brought a shovel. This is just me. We're gonna be here all day. Rhaenys, the queen who never was Targaryen, tells Rhaenyra that Otto Hightower would have never signed off on Ser Arik's assassination attempt, saying that she fears hotter blood has prevailed and the young men have taken the bit in their teeth. Rhaenys continues, soon they will not even remember what it was that begun the war in the first place. And Rhaenyra is like, well, obviously it was when they usurped my throne. And Rhaenys counters that it could have been when the child was beheaded, or when Aemond killed Luke, or when Luke took Aemon's eye. And she says, quote, we teeter now at the point where none of it will matter. Which, again, is just getting to this idea that when these conflicts escalate and there's retaliation and counter-retaliation back and forth, or as it is later said in Harrenhal of the Brackens and Blackwoods, sin begets sin, begets sin, begets sin. Like, eventually it gets to the point where nobody even knows where the damn thing began. Rhaenys wants Rhaenyra to treat with Alicent Hightower and attempt to avoid the all-out war that draws ever more inevitable. And she says, there is no war so hateful to the gods as a war between kin, and no war so bloody as a war between dragons. And Rhaenyra seems like kind of moved by Rhaenys' points about the perspectives of both sides in this conflict, but no decision is made here on what to do next. In King's Landing, it is Sir Criston Cole's first day as Hand of the King, and he's anxious about it, Barrett.
Got a nice cool-looking neck piece added to his armor.
Yeah, right? Is that what... So instead of the pin, because you can't pin...
You can't pin armor. Everybody knows that.
He's got like a braid at the top of the armor.
Yeah, it's like a new inlay
with like a hand in it.
I think it's like shaking hands. It's
right?
like hands on top of hands going in like a making for a chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, Jackson Chains should make one like that.
Actually. Yeah, they should.
Yeah, shouts to Jackson Chains, the only chain that matters.
Not a sponsor, but shouts to Jackson. If you've ever gotten those ridiculous Instagram ads like we have, it's like a running joke in our high school group chat.
Yeah, Jackson Chains are they're the only ones I'll wear.
That's JAXXON.
Not sponsored.
Not a sponsor. They should be now though.
It's a freebie.
Yeah, so, another note about Criston Cole's change in appearance. In this first scene, same hair as last episode.
Yeah.
But it does appear that in like 20 minutes, he's gotten a haircut.
That's right. He's gotten what I believe you would describe as a Caesar.
Yeah.
That's a Caesar haircut.
The old Roman Empire haircut, right? Yep. I guess he was like, new job, new gig.
You got to dress for the job that you want, not the one that you have. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not really working here.
Wants to look more professional, though.
He wants to, yeah.
Be taken more seriously. So he loses the flow, goes a little shorter, a little more Caesar-esque.
Right.
But this guy...
I wonder if that's indicating something.
I don't know. But he's got no experience as a politician, this dude. So he's, rightfully nervous about his first day on the job. He attends his first small council meeting. On the way, by the way, he passes several of the new members of the Kingsguard just kind of sitting lazily about on the stairs.
Yeah.
And King Aegon, it turns out, has filled all these vacant spots we were talking about last week with just his boys.
Right. Okay.
Which we should have seen coming from a mile away.
Are these guys the same ones that were like sitting in the throne room with him?
Just getting shit-faced on Thirsty Thursday? Yes.
Okay.
It's the same exact squad. He was just like, guys, great news. A bunch of the Kingsguard are dead. You're in. Got you some sick armor. But, they don't know the decorum, so they're just they're bums.
Right.
Yeah. Aemond One Eye is, in fact, on the small council, which I was confused about over the past couple of weeks, like whether or not he was on the council or what. And he informs them that...
What is he, he's just Master of Brother or something?
I don't know. They haven't said, his title.
Yeah.
But... Yeah, he informs them the first blood in this war has been spilt, with the Blackwoods and Brackens fighting each other, and that Lord Samwell Blackwood himself was slain. And King Aegon is very stoked about this, even though Tywin Lannister is quick to point out that both sides took heavy losses, and he's not sure this counts as a victory. Aegon's like, shut up, I'm taking it. The council deliberates over what to do next, much arguing ensues, and this all ends with Sir Criston Cole deciding he will ride out to the Riverlands to take control of the region and eventually to take Harrenhal. Aegon is like, great, Let's do this. The war is on. Also, I'm coming. I'm going to fly on Sunfire, my dragon. But they talk him out of it.
Sort of.
Sort of. But Aegon is displaying like more and more insecurity
Yeah.
As these episodes build. He says, I'm as fearsome as any of them.
Small council, also in shambles. Very argumentative.
Oh my God, it's a
people
mess.
talking over people.
First one without Otto.
Yes.
His absence is felt immediately.
And everybody's got an opinion. Nobody is really in control here, it would seem.
Alicent is disgusted.
Yeah. So, not great.
No, not a good start. Not a good start, but kind of,
What you'd expect.
Yeah. And throughout this episode, it should be noted that still, both sides, the Greens and the Blacks, continue to be hesitant to start dragon fighting.
Yes.
That has still been a big point here. On Dragonstone, Rhaenyra meets with Mysaria and thanks her for turning back from her ship and saving her life by warning them about Ser Arik, as we assumed was the case. Mysaria wants a place at Rhaenyra's court as her reward for her service. And her explanation for why she's going to stick around rather than flee is that she wants to punish the Hightowers for what they've done to her and those who served her. You'll recall they burned down her house in season 1. You have to assume they killed a bunch of her people when that occurred. And also she sees Rhaenyra as like the best option to sit the Iron Throne based on how Rhaenyra has treated her versus Aegon, who, remember, she's familiar with. She's the one who like stashed him when they were trying to find Aegon. So she knows Aegon has been running around Flea Bottom, attending the child fights and doing all sorts of debaucherous activity. Laenor's dragon, Seasmoke, who has grown restless of late. They can't know why. He's flying erratically over the sea surrounding Dragonstone. He's just out there like, "Rah! Somebody come ride me."
Yeah.
This seems not good. First time I watched the episode, I was like, oh, no big deal. He just misses his Laenor.
Right.
The second time through, I was like, okay, so now like the unclaimed dragons are starting to go a little crazy.
They're getting stir crazy.
And there are several of them. Like, I don't think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Not a good omen.
Maybe he is lonely.
And what was Rhaenyra's look? She was like, maybe he is lonely.
Yeah,
it was a strange little interaction between Mysaria and Rhaenyra.
He needs
something. Rhaenyra talks with Rhaena, one of Daemon's daughters with the late Laena Velaryon, and tells her that she is charging her with taking her small children away from Dragonstone to keep them safe in Pentos and be a mother to them. And to be clear, Rhaenyra's children. Yep. She's sending her own children with Rhaena.
The youngest strong boy, Joffrey, as well as her two children, her two little babes.
With Daemon.
Yep, all three of them. She's sending. Yeah, and I think the thing here is that Rhaena and all three kids are going first to Jane Eyre in the Vale, dropping off
all this stuff.
4 dragon eggs and 2 dragons. But tell me about the dragons here, because Rhaena does not have a dragon. She is not a dragon rider yet. But
right.
It sounds like she does have one dragon that's a hatchling, maybe?
I don't think it's hers.
But it's not. No? Okay.
I don't. Yeah, because she hasn't claimed one, so she's just dragonless at this point.
Okay, all right. So you think that both of these dragons...
They're just baby dragons, unclaimed.
The names are slipping my mind right now. But you think they're both young and they both do not have riders. They don't have They don't have claimants.
It's 2 small non-fighting dragons. Stormcloud and Tyraxes.
Tyraxes, that's the one. Yeah. You don't think Tyraxes is Rhaena's dragon?
Don't think so.
Okay. All right.
And she basically is like, look, it's up to you, because she promised Lady Jane Eyre of the Vale
a dragon.
And she's like, we're not sending her a full-grown dragon. Can't spare one of those. We're going to send these 2 babies and these 4 dragon eggs.
Yep.
And it's up to you, Rhaena, to make her cool with this compromise.
Yes. And then,
so we don't know if that's going to go well.
Right. And then, assuming that all goes well, call up Reggie.
Oh, Reg.
And get your ass to Pentos with all 3 kids.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, these 4 dragon eggs that they show us.
Are these the Daenerys dragon eggs?
3 of them, I'm 90% sure, end up being the eggs that Daenerys Targaryen receives from Illyrio Mopatis in Game of Thrones. Because here's the thing.
It's got to be.
She's going to Pentos.
She's going to Pentos, exactly.
Illyrio was a magister of Pentos.
Yes.
So that has to be the case. Which also makes me believe
they're going to be connected.
I don't think shit is going to go well at the Vale. That is my read.
Got it. Okay.
Because if those eggs don't stop in the veil,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. But
maybe she leaves because and one of the eggs is for little Viserys, I believe. So maybe she leaves that one with him and absconds with the other three.
Yeah.
To old Pentos.
Something's going to go down. I would also note, we got a little confused on Patreon last week discussing the Velaryons as dragon riders.
Yeah, we did.
So
yes,
they are
yes.
not
They
dragon
are not
riders.
dragon riders.
Targaryens are the only dragon riders. The confusion was that Rhaenys Targaryen is in fact a Targaryen who was married to Corlys Velaryon, so their offspring and grandchildren have Targaryen blood as a result and can therefore ride dragons. Duh.
Yeah.
Are bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is one hell of a valuable cargo haul that Rhaena is in charge of taking to first the Vale and then Pentos.
Yeah.
3 of the Queen's kids, 4 dragon eggs, 2 live baby dragons.
Yeah.
And she seems quite young. That's a lot of responsibility. That's all I'm saying. I would also note I'm wearing my Tim Robinson Eggman game shirt today in honor of all the egg talk on this episode. 41 eggs. You win.
Hashtag egg talk.
You win. You ever get home from work and wish you could just plop on the couch and enjoy your favorite TV show or movie without having to worry about what's for dinner? Of course you do. We all do. Today's episode is brought to you by Factor, and they can help with that. Warmer, sunnier days are here. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals this summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great-tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine and make your life easier. What are you waiting for? Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Just pick your meal out of the fridge, pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and enjoy shockingly good food without any fuss. Dinner time at my house can be extremely chaotic, so it's nice that on some nights when my wife and I are just flat out of energy or out of groceries, we can turn to Factor to make sure our family is still eating well when we don't have time to cook. I've probably had all 35 different meal options at this point, and everything Factor delivers is phenomenal. Factor is, without a doubt, by far, the best meal delivery service I have ever tried, and I have tried a lot of them, Clam Fam. Head to factormeals.com/OCC50 and use code OCC50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's OCC50 at factormeals.com/OCC50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. So Daemon, the Rogue Prince, flies to Harrenhal and finds it scarcely occupied, which you can tell he's kind of bummed about. He rolls in, full suit of armor, sword drawn, after a sick landing on top of the castle, I would note.
No, they don't show us how he gets down from there.
Right.
I would note.
I was curious about that as well.
And I just something to throw out there, you know?
Yeah, it's because he doesn't go in the front door. He comes down the stairs from the top.
Something like that.
Yeah. Harrenhal is creepy as hell. It's it's like a haunted castle. Maybe literally?
Sort of. And and we get a little bit of the backstory here, but this is not all from the fire that killed Harwin Strong and his dad. This is from Balerion the Dread just burning the fuck out of this place.
Yeah. And pretty much every time Harrenhal is brought up, whether it be in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, the curse of Harrenhal is mentioned, how dilapidated it is brought up.
It's a rough spot,
But it's also the largest castle in the Seven Kingdoms, which is wild. I don't know if I realized that. Anyway, there's nobody there except for Sir Simon Strong, the Castellan of Harrenhal, and I assume Castellan means caretaker?
Maybe, yeah.
He immediately pledges fealty to Rhaenyra and invites Daemon to supper with him and his people. But again, Daemon rolls into that room, kicks open the door after knocking the one guard out cold, and he's like, I am claiming Harrenhal. And Sir Simon Strong is like, apparently so.
Yeah.
Meets zero resistance from these people. They do not care.
He looks tight, though. Sick helm.
Very awesome. Yeah. Very wasted on this this situation here. Simon Strong denounces Larys Clubfoot Strong, accuses him of killing both his father and brother in Season 1, since it is nearly impossible to start a fire in Harrenhal, even in the good season, even in the dry season. Right. You just can't get a fire going in this place.
It's damp.
Too much water dripping from every orifice in the ceiling. Daemon makes Simon Strong call him Your Grace.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Because he's technically like a kingish person.
But he's king consort as.
But Alicent gets called Your Grace.
Yep,
And she's queen.
Good point.
Queen, whatever it is.
Yeah, it was strange that Simon was thrown off as much as he was by this.
I'm not sure that word of their marriage had spread far and wide just yet.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, really, this was a confusing back and forth between
Yeah,
them two regarding the titles, because Daemon clearly wanted more respect than he was being given.
Yeah.
And Simon Strong was like, what? What's happening with you people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Daemon also tells him that he intends on utilizing Harrenhal, the largest castle in the Seven Kingdoms, as a stronghold to house the 40,000 undeclared swords in the Riverlands, which Simon informs him they're actually, like, they've declared, and they're fucking killing each other, and there might not be 40,000 anymore because quite a few of them have died already. Also that he intends on marching on King's Landing and taking the throne, which leads to a nice little moment of humor where Simon Strong's like, the throne? He's like, it's a big chair made of swords.
Why do you think Simon said, the throne?
I guess this dude is just pretty unplugged from the social pipeline. Like you said, maybe he didn't know about the marriage.
Know about, about Rhaenyra and Daemon.
He has no clue how badly things have escalated up there in King's Landing or what's
hasn't
going
checked
on.
his ravens in like 3 weeks.
It's just him and like 15 people just trying to like plug the leaks here.
They're making a stew. They ran out of red currants, which is a shame. But
it is a damn shame. Very unfortunate.
They're just trying to get a stew going out there. It's hard. It's damp. Okay, maybe he's just unplugged. I don't know. He also might have just said that as a kind of like, okay, like y'all
That's
are
very ambitious.
You're really going for it. You're not trying to. You are attempting to take back the throne. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting little. Question, rhetorical or otherwise, from Simon Strong there, who just seemed very taken aback by that declaration.
Yeah, especially for a guy who was so willing to roll over here and like declare for Rhaenyra, for him to be unaware or for him to not assume that they're really doing this and going for the throne was strange. It was strange. Weird cat, Simon Strong. Although the fact that they're very aware of Larys was interesting to me too. There was some question about, do people know what he did?
Yeah, they kind of do.
Seems like at the very least his family knows what he did. Back in King's Landing, Criston Cole and his men ready for travel to the Riverlands, and Alicent introduces Criston to her brother, Sir Gawain Hightower, played by Freddie Fox, who was fantastic in The Great.
I literally just
as
finished
King Hugo.
The Great season 3 this past weekend, so having Hugo pop up was really quite a treat.
Oh, it's huge. I love this.
But also, I'm going to like for you. A lot of time has passed since you watched Great. And now he's popping up, so he's ready to be a new character for you. For me, now I just want him like doing hijinks and trying to take back Sweden with Peter III.
Dude, not enough time has passed. He's still just Hugo to me. He's even playing like basically the same character, just less flamboyant.
Props to him, because I kind of expected him to be Hugo again, and he's doing a different thing. He's trying. This guy's way harder, Criston Cole's like, it's going to be rough out there, and he's like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's not Hugo.
That's a good point. Okay, fair enough. He's differentiated.
He's differentiating, yeah. But he is still, in my mind, Hugo.
He's King Hugo.
From Sweden.
The Great on Hulu is fantastic, by the way. 3 seasons, if you've never watched it. Really, really good show. Definitely worth your time in the off-season between seasons of House of the Dragon here. And that's where we know Sir Gawain. Just another ridiculous name.
Did we know about Sir Gawain? Like, he kind of seems like he popped up out of nowhere a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever mentioned.
Because,
this is out of nowhere.
Otto's his dad? But Otto's never mentioned this cat.
Yeah, I don't know. He was
son?
He just arrived from Old Town, Barrett.
Yeah,
so he was just out there in Old Town, He will be riding with Criston Cole to the Riverlands at Alicent's insistence.
Yeah.
And Criston Cole requests Alicent's favors so he may go into battle with her blessing. She obliges. Ali Cole, as they are known to the habitually online, remains very cringe. Their whole relationship is a little nauseating. As Criston Cole and his men ride out, we see a crow eating out the eye of the rat catcher known as Cheese. Very necessary. visual that we all appreciated.
was that
I'm
cheese?
Sure. Yeah, it's cheese.
Was it?
He's still up there, dude.
I just thought it was some random rat catcher.
No, it's cheese.
You think that was cheese?
Yeah, you didn't recognize him because his face is rotting
was
off.
all rotting off.
And
Yeah.
there's a crow eating his eyeball.
I gotta take a moment here. I watched the second episode of the house that dragons built.
You did? The behind-the-scenes documentary?
Which is behind-the-scenes documentary. It's a separate thing. You have to search for it on HBO Max. It's not going to populate in the extras
Right.
under House of the Dragon.
Although they did run a like an ad for it after this episode.
Yes, they did. Yeah. So they're not short. They're each like 21, 23 minutes, and there's going to be one for every episode. But a big piece of number 2 is like how much time, energy, makeup, 3D printing, prosthetics, like engineering went into the hanging of the rat catchers. It's like a mix of fake prosthetic people as well as real ones, where they did these rigs, these harnesses that like are essentially let you stand while you're hanging, and they had like all these pulley systems so they could like quickly get people up and then get people back down. It's awesome. I won't belabor the point here, but this is one of those shows, just like Game of Thrones, especially in the second half of the seasons, but like there is no expense spared here. I know they have a budget, but also it kind of seems like they don't. They're just like, give us the bill, that's the budget.
Yeah.
Because they are spending, weeks, hours, months, like so much manpower on shots that are on screen for 22 seconds.
Dude,
you know what I mean? It's like, it's just wild the amount of work that's going into this.
It's one of those things where, I understand it's very cool for us as big fans to be able to watch these behind the scenes documentaries and see like how the show comes together.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I almost feel like they make these to be like, you people have no idea how much trouble this was.
Yes, yeah.
Like, you have no idea how complicated it is to make this damn show. Give us our due and proper credit.
Yeah.
Because it is a fucking nightmare.
Well, and I think it also, to that point, it helps you understand why anybody that like works within the industry is so respectful of this show.
Right.
Regardless of where it may err or go wrong.
Right.
know?
I mean,
because so much craftsmanship and so much just energy and time and expertise is happening on these sets.
And they've got the best of the best in this crew. And it's a great point because it's super easy for us to come in here on Monday mornings and like talk about the show and shit on certain scenes and make fun of things and take it really lightly. But behind the scenes, there are all these people breaking their backs to make this thing and put it together for us to put on our screens so we can be entertained. And not to say that they're not doing it for money because they're being paid and it's a for-profit industry, obviously. But it is good to keep in the back of your mind, like to have an appreciation for how much goes into putting something like House of the Dragon together, which is really, it seems, what those documentaries are providing.
Yeah, so they're cool. I recommend checking them out.
Yeah. So on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra meets with her small council, who encourages her to seize the hour and send out all the dragons to start turning green strongholds to their cause and burn those who resist. Rhaenyra is, of course, against this idea, even while these men continuously remind her how vulnerable and exposed she is right now. They even suggest secreting herself somewhere safe. They're like, you go hide out.
Yeah,
we'll stay here in Dragonstone as a distraction. She's like, you want to run the war while I'm gone. And she calls that treason, the idea. Mm-hmm. But she all but tells them to like, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
Her small council, I'll note, also kind of stinks.
Yeah, that's a great... Both small councils are a mess. Yeah. Every time they show Rhaenyra's, I'm like, who even are you people?
I was just about to say, I also have no idea who any of these dudes are on.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's like a bunch of old whites.
Yeah.
Just like old gray hairs, old white hairs. They're just like, you're like, what the fuck? They don't even give us intros, though. They're not even really using their names.
No, and I assume this is all maybe intentional, or maybe it just like intentional in the fact that maybe it doesn't matter who these people are. Like, I don't know. The small council seems due for some turnover, but
my God, does it? Yeah.
But yeah, worth noting that both small councils are not in great shape.
Yeah, but at least on the Green Council, like, there's only like one or two guys that were like, who are you?
Yeah.
Every single dude in this room with Rhaenyra, I'm like, get rid of these fuckers. Bring in some familiar faces.
Yeah, I could not tell you a single name there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because they're not long for this world.
Right.
Or perhaps they'll just all be sacked eventually when she grows tired of this same suggestion week after week.
Yeah.
use the dragons. She's like, God damn it, guys. You have no other ideas? Anyway, Rhaenys is in there, and she's like the only one with a cooler head. And, you know, she kind of puts them in their place after Rhaenyra walks out. She's like, says something about how she wears the crown of the Conciliator.
Jaehaerys the Conciliator,
who is, you know,
longest running king.
Better reign even than Aegon the Conqueror, which obviously is, you know, the crown that Aegon the Second is wearing.
Yeah.
So Rhaenys goes and meets with her husband, Lord Corlys, and I believe this is in Driftmark, so she just like flew over real quick for a pop-in.
Yeah, brought him some snacks.
Yes, yeah. Very nice of her.
Yeah, yeah.
Great wife. Encourages him to name an heir to Driftmark in case something happens to him. And this was a little confusing because it sounds like...
I had to go back and rewatch this scene.
It sounds like Joffrey is currently the heir.
Yes.
And that Rhaenys is suggesting that he named Rhaena the heir.
Yeah.
And Rhaena is the one who is being sent to Pentos, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, I guess, because she'll be safe there. Like, might as well name the safest offspring or relative the heir.
Well, Joffrey will be there, too, though.
Well, and also Joffrey is...
They're both going Pentos way.
Is Joffrey a strong?
But Joffrey is a strong, yes.
Right. And maybe that's also part of the equation here?
I think so.
Because Rhaena is actually related to them by blood.
Like, Rhaenyra wouldn't have an issue with Rhaena being the heir to Driftmark as well. Like, so, like, you know, you got your choice here between these two. And he's like, neither one of these little kids knows a damn thing about the sea.
They don't know about sailing?
They don't know about sailing.
How to tie a sailor's knot?
And then it's weird because he's like, maybe we shall just move forward and see. And he like grabs her belly. And I'm like, okay, wait. Is he saying that they should make another heir?
I took it that way.
That's not it, though. That's not it. Because Rhaenys is, as you may expect from the person playing her, she is supposed to be like 60 plus years old.
Okay.
They're not birthing another child. These two people are well into their middle age, late middle age.
Yeah, they're golden years.
What I think he's saying.
It was weird though the way he approached it.
Yeah, because it definitely seems like that's what he's insinuating.
Right.
I think he's really saying that like Rhaenys is pushing him to name an heir in case something happens, and he's like, nah. Well, I guess it's a good thing that I'm such a damn good sailor then. And she's like, nah, you should do this. Like, just pick one, basically. And he's like, nah, they don't know shit about anything. And she's like, okay. And he's like, it's good that we have time.
Right. He's just pushing it off.
He's pushing it off. He's hoping that I think things clear up. These people can come back. They can learn. They can learn about the salty seas. They can, be shown the ropes, quite literally.
And then you can see who kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. That's my overall takeaway, but I did find this scene slightly confusing.
Yeah, this conversation also seemed to be ominous foreshadowing for Corlys, who refuses to name Rhaena, and he seems overly confident that he will go on living.
Right.
Especially considering we've been introduced to Alan with a Y and Double D Adam, who we are pretty confident are his bastards. So I'm just saying Corlys is officially on death watch, which is sad because he literally nearly died 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he's just now not an invalid anymore.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm worried about him.
He doesn't need that damn warm broth.
Nah, no longer a hashtag invalid.
Get that broth out of here.
In King's Landing, Queen Helaena tells her mother Alicent that she is sad about her son Jaehaerys's, getting his head sawed off, but doesn't think she should be because people die all the time, especially babes, And Rhaenyra does some like minor mothering here, better than last episode
Last episode, sure.
And tells Helaena that she has as much right to grief as anyone, and there's a little bit of back and forth, but essentially Helena's response is, "I forgive you," and Alicent says, "What?" And she says, "I said that I forgive you." Now, what did we make of this?
She is forgiving her for the sexy times that she was having
with Criston Cole,
whilst her grandchild had his head sawed off.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I was like, is she forgiving her for something she's already done, like sleeping with Criston Cole,
or
something that is yet to come?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like perhaps both. I don't know.
It could be.
Maybe
both.
It wasn't as complicated as I'm making it.
My immediate read was like, I think because Alicent's she's dancing around this. She's beating around the bush. She is not. Nobody has acknowledged what Helaena walked in on.
Right. Good point.
And so I think it was like,
this is that acknowledgement.
Criston Cole is the dude that very clearly would have been in the hallway
Could have heard something.
Could have heard
stopped
something.
this.
Could have potentially. And we see that guilt from him too. Last episode, right, where
Yeah.
he's taking it out on everybody, sends Eric away, all that. And so I think Helena is basically just saying like, yeah, I registered this,
Right.
and I forgive you for
I think it's probably as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of forces Alicent, who's pretty disassociated, I think, because she even asks her, she's like, so how are you doing with this, Mom? And she's like, oh, yeah, sure, I loved him, but I'm focused on you.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to talk about Jaharis. She
Right.
doesn't want to talk about what happened. King Aegon is now doing full-blown Conqueror cosplay, being suited up in Aegon the Conqueror's armor, surrounded by all the new members of the Kingsguard, his lad boy bro squad. And Aegon still wants to fly off to battle with Criston Cole. So like you said earlier, like he heard the small council, but he was pretty much ignoring them and going to go anyway. And Larys Strong visits him and has to convince him not to. He tells Aegon that there are rumors in the streets, 2 sets of rumors. One, that you're super brave and awesome and you're going to totally go fly off because that's what you should do. You should be a part of the fight, right? The other one, though, is that you were outwitted by your counselors and persuaded to fly to war with Sir Criston so that Queen Alicent may reign in your absence with Prince Aemond at her side.
Yeah.
Which you could tell. Well, for one, Larys is just straight up manipulating this dude into staying because it seems like Larys is actually invested in the Greens being victorious here, and this would be a terrible fucking idea. He knows that. But also just further adding divisiveness in this Green camp because you could tell Aegon hearing this and that his mom would maybe conspire that way and that like Aemond would be the one at his mom's side if he did leave. Like that's what gets him to stop in his tracks and decide to fly another day.
Well, this is not really said, but like we've kind of been on Alicent Larys watch. Like, what's their relationship? Right?
Yeah, like what's going on with them?
Is he feeling a little bit, kind of tossed to the curb because of her relationship with Criston Cole? Now Aegon has made Criston Cole the hand, so I feel like this is also an attempt to kind of like get his claws into Aegon a little bit more as well, to make sure that he's kind of like he's got his bases covered.
Definitely.
As far as where his influence lies.
Couple episodes in a row, he's asked for a one-on-one conversation with the king where he's planting seeds.
And so this pays off, right? He keeps Aegon close, makes sure that Aegon is not going to go out there and die, and gets named Master of Whispers. So
yeah, and Aegon's
Whispers,
like,
Master
also
of Whispers.
take care of those rumors.
Yeah.
So giving him the the permission to go and kill people if he needs to, it sounds like.
Yeah, I also thought that was a kind of funny line because I'm pretty sure that Larys like, okay, I'll stop spreading them.
Yeah. No, he totally made all of this
I'll
up.
take care of them, as in I won't tell them to you again because they weren't real.
Yes, it was me. I'll go look for myself. Yeah, but yes, Master of Whispers, he gets appointed, and Viserys notably never had one, which is another differentiation.
Didn't feel the need.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably could have used one.
Yeah.
Frankly. Aegon then tells his boys he's no longer flying out today, and they're like, oh, hell yeah, you should come out with us tonight then. Sir Martin has a new squire that's a virgin, so we're going to get him laid.
Yeah.
And Aegon's reply is, but you're sworn to chastity now. What'd you read here? Because I can't tell if like Aegon is just like kind of punking his friends.
I think he's punking them.
Because they laugh and he's like, what's funny?
Yeah.
It's not funny.
Uh-huh.
But then he smiles.
But then he smiles.
And like one of his 2 boys is kind of taking it seriously. Like he knew that like that. It's almost like him saying like, guys, you have to at least
pretend.
put on the front.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I took it as.
Right. Even though they then
because he still obviously goes out with them, takes everybody to the brothel.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna get after it.
Good. Yeah. He just wants them to put on a good face. When they're in the Red
pretend to have
Keep.
some decorum. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Then in the most random scene of the episode, the Smithy dude named Hugh, who we've now seen in all 3 episodes this season, goes to a bar.
That's not Hugh.
That wasn't Hugh?
No.
This is a completely different dude?
Yes. This was a totally I have no idea what to do with this.
I thought this
Ross.
guy was Hugh.
No, this is a random dude. This is a random guy that we've literally never met
You've
before.
got to be
never
fucking
seen
kidding
before.
me.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it even more confusing for me.
I don't know what this is. Yeah.
Because I was like, I guess that's Hugh, and he just looks slightly different to me.
Nah,
Like he's
different guy. I don't think we've ever seen him before.
Okay, well, this dude.
Hopefully I'm not having another Shogun moment here, which will haunt me for the rest of my days. But I'm pretty sure we've never seen that dude before, and it's definitely not the same guy as playing Hugh.
Okay, well, he rolls into a bar.
Yeah.
It's very celebratory.
Oh, this bar is popping off.
Yeah. Vibes in there are strong.
This is King's Landing's hottest
nightclub.
Hottest club.
Yeah.
This place has everything.
He's having a drink with some men who he tells that he is, in fact, the grandson of the conciliator, King Jaehaerys. He insists that he really shouldn't even be telling them this, but that he's a Targaryen, the son of Balon the Brave, bastard brother to Prince Daemon, and the late King Viserys, uncle to the one true queen, Rhaenyra Targaryen. So in my head, as I'm trying to piece this together, the reason I went with Hugh, I was like, oh, that's why they've been showing us Hugh repeatedly, because he's going to make this big difference. And one of us is obviously very, very wrong. No way of knowing right now as we sit here and record, but that was where my head was at. That's why I was like, oh, okay, well, at least this makes sense why we spent so much time with Hugh the Smithy now. Regardless, this dude, did you think he was telling the truth? Or was this like some big... I feel like it was real. Like he was serious. Like he is a bastard Targaryen.
This dude didn't have a beard, right?
Did Hugh have a beard?
Hugh has a beard. But I'm also looking up Hugh and kind of giving myself
Hugh had a beard. You're right.
But I'm looking up Hugh.
It's not Hugh.
And I'm giving myself minor spoilers.
Don't do it. Yeah.
But all to say, like, this story maybe makes sense for Hugh.
I don't think it's Hugh.
Okay.
Because I googled Hugh House of the Dragon. His face popped up, and that is not this guy.
Right.
So you're right.
Okay.
This is not Hugh. Also, just a good thing to note: you basically can't Google any character from the show. If you're trying to avoid spoilers altogether, you can't Google anything. You also shouldn't read comments on TikTok. You shouldn't read comments on YouTube.
Right.
Because the book readers, and really on X, you have to be careful as well.
Yeah.
The book readers are shameless. These people are out there, and they're discussing this as if everyone has read the book every day, all of the time. Even the memes, some of them are dangerous. Like it's. I'm just saying, it's perilous online.
I will
be careful.
I thought about bringing this up on Patreon. I decided I'd save it today. Now seems as good of a segue as any.
Yeah.
This is very interesting covering this show in the way that we like to cover things. I responded to somebody on our own Instagram account who clearly was one of these book readers that just assumes that we're all like reading the Wikipedias or reading or know all the book knowledge and are watching this as like a history show.
Right.
Like, nah, we're just watching this show for the show, theorizing and making shit up and taking guesses and shots in the dark of where things might go. Like, but it's interesting because we never dealt with this while covering Game of Thrones, that this is all written. This is done. This is in stone. This is part of the canon. When we started covering Game of Thrones, we had already passed the books. When you and I were covering seasons of Game of Thrones live as they came out.
What was it, season 6 we picked up?
Was our first season to cover the show as it was coming out. We were already past the books.
So we didn't have to worry about it.
So we were kind of with everybody at that point, including book readers, not really knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So this is a weird thing to cover, especially the way that we are, because there are so many people out there and so many of like the show's biggest fans and most diehard fans who are like, you have to listen to us basically be wrong a lot of the time because we're just watching the show as it is given to us. Just an interesting thing, but it folds into with what you're saying. Like, yeah, you can't look these characters up because...
Don't do it. There's too much information, even in just like their little character descriptions. Yeah. And then again, like the book readers, they're out there in full force and they are discussing this like with zero respect for the fact that I would say the strong majority of people have not read the book, which is one of the things that played into our decision to do it this way, on top of the fact that I was a book reader during Game of Thrones and I didn't like it. I didn't like knowing what was coming.
This is definitely a more fun way for us to cover the show.
So yeah. Please respect our ignorance and also, chill out online.
So back to this
this guy.
He's
random guy.
He is not the same guy as Hugh.
No.
So I don't know what to take his word at. With this little story.
I'm very glad you spared me this being this wrong because, I totally ran with it as him being Hugh.
He's sitting there with 3 other guys that we've never seen. One of whom is Dornish. It sounds like they're like trying to make some deal or something.
Right.
And then Aegon walks in, and we're completely done with them.
Yeah. It was so bizarre. Like that
The one guy who's like, I think he says something. He smack talks little Jaehaerys or something as soon as Aegon walks in, and then he's the first one that's like, to Aegon the King.
Yeah. He also drops the line, "The blood of the dragon runs through these veins, and yes, men would take my head for it."
Yeah.
Random note: the black dude at this table with the guy I thought was Hugh is the actor Samison Kayo. He was a character in Our Flag Means Death, HBO family. Also, the waitress that the one guy slaps on the ass after she brings over the ale is Diana, the serving girl from season 1 that Aegon assaults and Alicent serves Plan T to.
Okay.
So if you wondered why they gave her like a close-up facial reaction,
they drew a little hang on her. Yeah.
it's because she went from the Red Keep where she was serving Aegon and getting assaulted,
Yeah.
and from being served Plan T by the Queen.
Now she's a barmaid.
to now being a barmaid who is still being assaulted just by a different class of man. So definitely making some points there.
I thought she kind of looked familiar.
Yeah.
Good note there. I've always got time for a show that wants to do a little second person walk through a bar where a guy just acts like he's the total shit and knows every single person in the bar. I love that.
That was great.
That's just something that something about me. I love shots like this where somebody enters a bar as if they own the place.
Hey! Slapping hands with like
Doing
6 different tables.
Guns. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Anyway, this meeting between these men, none of which we knew, was bizarre.
It was.
Where one of them is claiming to be the brother of Daemon and Viserys and uncle to Rhaenyra, and what the fuck? This was so weird.
This is obviously going to come back into play.
It has to.
But it was very, like, kind of shoehorned in here.
If nothing else, it's just a further reminder that, like, there are Targaryen bastards all over the damn place.
Yeah, okay.
Like, we got some in the fighting pits that are Aegon's in season 1. It's a problem.
Yeah.
They can't stop having bastards all over. Anyway, speaking of Aegon, he rolls into the bar with his boys looking to get the squire laid, buys everyone drinks at the pleasure of the crown, and then Aegon and his lads take the squire to the whorehouse that Aegon used to go to as a boy, and Aegon just starts like throwing back curtains, trying to find one specific lady of the night he's looking for, which reminded me of the time I drunkenly fell through a curtain at the Palazzo Strip Club here in Austin when I was a younger man. Anyway, this is when we get I can't believe you missed this, because I assumed the one penis you saw this episode was Aemon's.
Oh, the blowjob. There's the
blowjob.
blowjob.
There's a lovely blowjob on screen, albeit a very obvious prosthetic one.
Yeah.
I think this is the first...
Damn, I forgot we got the full on...
dude. Full blowjob.
I saw it, and I was just like, okay.
And I think it's the first, like, visible blowjob we've had in Game of Thrones or the Game of Thrones universe. Now, there are blowjob scenes in Game of Thrones, but you don't see them. You saw this. It's in the forefront of the screen as things are going on behind it. It was really out there.
Yeah.
You also get a foursome going on behind another curtain. These are classic Game of Thrones visuals, though, and I'm really happy this was happening, by the way.
It's a real Caligula.
The show needs over-the-top sexuality to go with the violence and gore and the political intrigue and everything else. It's an important element. I'm dead serious, and I love that Ryan Condal is kind of bringing this back because it wasn't present in Season 1. Season 1, sex and sexuality were kind of removed, and it was more focused on, like, the result of sex and sexuality, which was the woman's battlefield, the childbed. So anyway, finally, Prince Aemond they pull back one final curtain. It's Prince Aemond the Fierce, once again curled up in the fetal position with the whore that it turns out is the one Aegon was actually looking for. And Aegon antagonizes Aemond pretty thoroughly. Aemond clearly does not like his brother here. Ends up getting up and walking out naked. We get a full frontal shot.
Yeah.
No prosthetic here. And he says, "Your squire is welcome to her. One whore is as good as another."
But what we learn is that this is the first lady that Aemond ever took, and he has never
switched up.
Never switched.
Stayed with this one
for
lady.
For many years now.
Right. And again, my impression is that Aegon is the one who introduced him to this lady.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to Ewan Mitchell for going full frontal. Surely inspired by his boy Barry Keoghan from Saltburn, which they were both in together.
Right.
But yeah, this was... Look, this scene was obviously meant to build further bad blood between these two brothers.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the gist of it.
Yep.
Outside of the, overt sexuality all over the place. So on the way to the Riverlands, Sir Gawain decides that him and his men are going to stay in an inn a couple of miles away rather than camp with the company on the cold, hard ground. And Kristen Cole tries to tell him that's a stupid fucking idea, but realizes in the middle of this argument that they're out in the open and exposed just as Bela and Moondancer fly overhead. You will recall that Rhaenyra sent Bela and Moondancer to go scout around King's Landing. And you and I were really confused. Wait, what's she going to do? She's just going to fly around the top of King's Landing? So it sounds like what actually happened is it's the surrounding area. Her job is to make sure that if troops get on the move, she can fly back to Dragonstone and make the Blacks aware of it.
Yeah.
So it's not as ridiculous as you and I kind of thought it was. When it's what? She's going to die. So yeah, they escape, Kristen Cole and Sir Gawain, to the tree line. But Bela has kind of seen all she needs to see and is going to report back to Rhaenyra. Very cool dragon flying scene here. It was more in dragons in sport mode. She's just diving down and fucking, loved it. Also very cool that Bela does not seem to be doomed by this mission, as I assumed.
Not yet, anyway.
Sir Gawain is very thankful to I guess, what is he now? Hand of the King, Kristen Cole, for saving him and tells him he's in his debt. And people online really, really want Sir Gawain to be gay for Kristen Cole. And they're comparing Gawain and Alicent to Loras and Marjorie Tyrell.
Okay.
And it is out of control. It is so very out of control. I didn't really get those vibes, but people are running with that like crazy. But yeah, just kind of a scene that continues to escalate things in terms of how the ground game is going to go here. Back on Dragonstone. Go ahead.
This was where we left our riders here. So is Kristen Cole? He's SEAL Team 6ing this basically. He's got
Sort
9
of.
dudes, and that's who he's going to go.
No, so they have a full company of men, but him and this group right here was sort of riding ahead as almost the scout team.
Okay. All right.
But they have a full.
Because remember, he's talking in the small council about he's got the element of surprise. That's what he's got. They're gonna go guerrilla warfare style. They're gonna go I don't know.
I think that was because he's not sending any ravens. He's just gonna show up.
Okay.
And speed is his ally. Is one of the things.
That's what he says.
So it's not a
says,
huge army, but it's a company of men. You see them leaving King's Landing, and it's
All right.
a solid, at least several hundred dudes, maybe more.
Okay.
That they've got with them here.
But they're the lead team. They're gonna go try to gather banners.
They're going to the Riverlands. They're going to try to get the Brackens and Blackwoods on the same page,
okay.
unite everybody under King Aegon, and then go take Harrenhal with a large force. They're going after the same, quote-unquote, 40,000 unclaimed soldiers and swords that Daemon is. Yeah. So back on Dragonstone, Bela tells the Blacks that she saw Kristen Cole with some half dozen other knights. She didn't see the full company. But ravens confirm a larger force moving with them. And the small council once again pushes Rhaenyra to act now. They say, quote, loose the dragons, root Cole out, and burn him. However, Rhaenyra has finally read the message that Alicent sent her after Lucerys was murdered by Aemond. All this time, it's just been sealed up, sitting in a drawer. She didn't even want to read it.
Yep.
Left her on unread. And that message combined with Rhaenys' advice convinces Rhaenyra to take action, but in another way, which we will soon get to. Back on Harrenhal, Daemon has some kind of dream or hallucination or both, combination of the two, in which someone approaches his chambers, bangs on the door. It's real creepy. Real creepy scene. Because you see the feet under the door, approaching.
Some shadows. Right.
He goes out to see who it is, kind of wanders around again, sword drawn, finds young Rhaenyra, played by Millie Alcock. She's back.
Little guest star. Yeah.
Sewing the dead boy Jaehaerys' head back onto his body, she says, quote, always coming and going, aren't you? And I have to clean up afterwards. I love that we got a little Millie back in the mix here.
That's cool.
That was tight.
This was all just. I loved this. This was kind of old school Game of Thrones. When he comes to, he's kind of under a weirwood tree here at Harrenhal, which we know has the kind of mystical forest powers to it.
So you thought, so you read, he drops the sword, right? He's in the room with Millie Alcock, young Rhaenyra. She says her line, he drops the sword, and then he comes to. So I thought the dream just moved. He's still dreaming, but now he's under a weirwood tree. I like your read better though.
No,
So he's like sleepwalking or having some kind of experience here.
yes, yeah.
He's out at the werewood tree, and then there's this creepy woman who tells him, "You will die in this place."
Yeah, and we see her earlier in the episode.
Right, she's in the dining room where Damon found Sir Simon Strong
and does she
company.
say anything to him in there?
No, but she
just
does stand out.
Yeah, and she looks at him, and we see her.
Yes, my assumption was like, oh, well, he's gonna bang her.
Okay, and then he comes to in that werewood tree, and she's standing out there, and she just yells at him, "You're gonna die here,"
and then she walks off.
And then she walks off. We don't know who this is. She's played by Gail Rankin, who you'll recognize from some other stuff. I thought many things about this. The first was I was pretty sure that they just lobbed an American accent into the show on us with her.
Like she didn't have any kind of
No, but she is actually she's Scottish. I recognize what the like I know her most from Glow, where she definitely plays an American and has an American accent, but she's not. She is. So I don't know what type of accent she was talking about. She only has like the one line. Maybe there's a second one in there.
No, I think that was it.
So who knows? Maybe she does.
It was like 6 words, so
Right.
it's easy for us to not really be able to tell accent.
But then, like, is she? I'm very curious about the role that she's going to play. Is she some type of like Red Witch? Is she some type of seer or vision type person?
People are really itching for like the Red Woman situation to come back into play here.
Yeah.
And as we know, the Red Woman from Game of Thrones was like thousands of years old or whatever when she finally takes off that necklace and you're like, goo! So, yeah, I don't know. But the way this scene unfolds under the werewood tree is what made me think like he was still dreaming because she says, you will die in this place. And then she just walks off and he's just kind of like, all right. Like, he's not like, what'd you say? Get back here. Who are you? He's just like, what is happening? He's totally dazed. Anyway, Harrenhal is clearly having an effect on this dude.
Yeah. Even as he's walking through halls and stuff, there's like little things tumbling and like little tinkle here or something crashes there or there's like something that sounds like a voice or like this place is creepy.
Yeah. And I took this to be truth. Like, I think he's going to die there.
He might.
I don't mean right now or maybe even on this trip.
Sure. But at Harrenhal.
But I'm taking that as like, that's a prophecy that is going to roll through. I mean, he's going to die there. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that was, man, the Harrenhal scenes were really well done. This was super creepy.
Harrenhal was cool.
And I feel like it's the most time we've ever spent in Harrenhal.
It is. And I love kind of adding to the lore of the place and like, just kind of filling in some gaps here of what this place looks like, feels like, what it means, why people have the reaction to it that they do, like all very cool.
Even in Game of Thrones, it gets passed between so many different families. Like at one point, I'm pretty sure Littlefinger gets Harrenhal as Tyrion gives it to him or something. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of live music, going to concerts, and also attending live sporting events. There is no better way to make lasting memories, so I'm also a huge fan of today's sponsor, Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets for concerts and events faster and easier, even if you don't buy tickets right away. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to show start time, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying concert tickets. I've got the old Game Time app pulled up right now in Austin. I can grab tickets to a ton of different live comedy shows. Love me some stand-up comedy. Also, we've got Austin FC soccer matches. We got the WWE coming up in August. Round Rock Express baseball games, racing out at the Circuit of the Americas. All kinds of artists and musicians rolling through here, obviously, as Austin is a big live music town. Game Time has it all and makes it incredibly easy to find and buy tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Game Time is also extremely helpful just to keep up with all the events in your area, to see what's happening tonight, see what's coming up on the calendar, grab last-minute tickets if you're feeling spontaneous. Also, they hit you with flash deals, zone deals. You can check out the view from all of the seats in the venue before you purchase, so you won't be bamboozled. With last-minute deals, you save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Game Time also offers lowest price guarantees, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and so much more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DRAGON. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DRAGON, DRAGON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So next, Rhaenyra meets with Mysaria and asks her, what do you know about Alicent's movements in King's Landing? Rhaenyra wants to speak face-to-face with Alicent. Mysaria tells her, look, there might be a way. One way that you can get her alone outside the castle to have a meeting. So Rhaenyra then recklessly sails to King's Landing and sneaks into the city dressed as a septa. Finds Alicent at the Sept of Baelor, which is the one that Cersei eventually blows to smithereens in a domestic terrorist attack. Rhaenyra, I just want to say up front, this is so wild that she actually did this. Now, look, there's a lot to take from this scene, but one of the things I think is extremely important to establish up front. Rhaenyra is desperately trying to avoid all-out war.
Yeah.
You know, it's talked about on this show like both sides are bloodthirsty psychopaths murdering nut jobs. But that's not the way this show is painting up what is our main protagonist here. Rhaenyra is desperately, like she's putting her life in danger here. She's sent her children away. She's doing everything she can to like protect her people, and not just her people, to try to spare lives on the other side as well. She thinks there's been enough bloodshed. She does not want this war to happen. So she approaches Alicent, who is praying, you know, doing her thing. She's in there. She's lighting the candles. She kneels beside her with a knife in hand, which I love this as like a security, you know. And she tells her, I must speak with you. And Alicent is completely shocked and maybe a little turned on. Rhaenyra tries to get Alicent to see that they are the only two people who can stop this war from happening. Everyone wants them to kiss so bad. They go back and forth a bit over like the death of both Lucerys and Jaehaerys before Rhaenyra brings up the usurping of her rightful inheritance. And that is when Alicent insists that Rhaenyra's father, King Viserys, changed his mind. And she swears it to her on the memory of her mother, which is exactly what Rhaenyra swore to Alicent in season 1 when she is insisting that she did not, in fact, bang her uncle in a brothel, the uncle that she is now married to, which is a lovely callback to the fact like where the conflict between these two girls begins. It's not just that Alicent marries Rhaenyra's dad, like kind of not, you know, her own choice there. It's also that like Alicent believes Rhaenyra lied to her about this really twisted situation with her uncle, which Rhaenyra didn't actually lie about, but now she's married to that uncle, so why would Alicent believe her? Anyway, she throws the same line back at her about swearing on the memory of her mother. And I'm just going to read this conversation because it's so important. Rhaenyra says, what did he say at the end? Did he speak my name? Alicent says, he was weary. It was hard at times to understand. But he spoke Aegon's name. He said he was the prince that was promised to unite the realm. And Rhaenyra is like, what? Alicent replies, I desire peace as you do, but if, and Rhaenyra like cuts her off, like, whoa, did my father use those words? The prince that was promised, did he? Alicent says, yes, he did. Rhaenyra says, he spoke to you of the Song of Ice and Fire. And Alicent kind of looks at her like, what the fuck are you even talking about? She says, it's a story he once told about Aegon the Conqueror. Alicent's reply is, the Conqueror. So yeah, Rhaenyra realizes that a confused Viserys was talking to Alicent about the Song of Ice and Fire, likely thinking he was talking to Rhaenyra, referencing Aegon the Conqueror, not Aegon II, his son, and Alicent confused it all for Viserys saying he wanted Aegon to be king, and this is all just a big misunderstanding. What a mess, dude. What a like basically all of this bloodshed is happening and going to happen because these people are too lazy to come up with new names for their children and just keep reusing the same damn ones.
If you didn't think about this, yeah, you should have. Like, we got to stop naming our kids after ourselves. It's very clearly what needs to happen.
Yeah, this is exactly why my son isn't William Ross Bolin Jr. because there have already been at least 2 other William Ross Bolins in my family, and enough is enough.
It's too complicated. The Targaryens, they're the worst about it, as we well know, just naming everybody the same 5 names.
Yeah.
And even when they like switch out the, like Rhaenys Rhaenyra, like that's not enough.
It's not enough. It's too confusing.
Some old person's on their deathbed, they're talking about names. They could easily mistake those two.
Thousands of people are dying because of this.
Yeah, no, enough is enough. Time for the Targaryens to really just just start naming people Jeff.
Do what the Lannisters are doing. Jason. But even the Lannisters are screwing up. They got Tywin, Tyland, Tyrion. Too many TYs. Good God. Yeah. Look, we've made a lot of jokes over the years about George R. R. Martin and his names. It's really wild that this is it's kind of the root cause of this entire conflict.
Maybe he knows that. Maybe that's exactly, maybe that's part of why he's got the the Targaryens constantly naming each other the exact same thing over and over again.
So Alicent repeatedly insists that there has been no mistake, even as it seems she realizes
But there has been
like Joe
huge,
Bluth,
a huge mistake.
She is-
A huge tiny mistake.
she's made a huge mistake. She says, my father has gone from court. Cole is on the march. Aemond, you know what Aemond is. It's too late, Rhaenyra. And then Alicent leaves. Now, what did you think she meant by, you know what Aemond is? Just that he's a murderer?
I
Because he
think-
killed Lucerys?
No, I think everybody's like the guy's named Aemon the Fierce. He's kind of unhinged. Likes to get high off that milk of the poppy and feedle up with his madam.
Just kind of a weird cat.
He's a weird,
Got a little rep?
But everybody is kind of alluding to the fact that he's unhinged and off his rocker. I think.
Okay.
Now
A little crazy.
he's a little yes.
Yeah, because we could look, we got that vibe in season 1 even. You know, he would say things here or there where you're like, is this guy kind of a nut?
But I think they must be. I don't know. It's very confusing because Aemond kind of shows a bit of remorse for killing Luke.
Seemed
right?
like it.
You know, like if we're talking about who's the bigger psychopath between Aegon and Aemond,
Definitely Aegon.
it's definitely Aegon right now.
Yeah, as far as we know anyway.
But yeah, so all of this like kind of like, well, Aemond, you know, he's out there loose cannoning it.
He's
Like,
different.
That guy is built different. Yeah, I don't know. I maybe some foreshadowing for something that Aemond is going to do, but also look, Alicent is here making excuses, valid that they might be, about why there is no putting this cat back in the bag. Like it's over. It's
too
done.
late.
There's
Yeah.
she does not. She's lost she's lost influence. Her dad's off the small council. Like that. Like there isn't. She's kind of right, I think, about there not really being a move for her to make. Like what is she going to do? Go walk back to the small council and be like, hey, the reason that you're king, big misunderstanding.
Totally my bad.
You actually have to abdicate now.
Yeah.
We're gonna pack it up and
We're going to bring Rhaenyra in.
head off to Old Town.
Still should have been Rhaenyra. Big misunderstanding. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's off. The whole war is off.
Like
Sorry, guys.
Who's saying yes to that?
Nobody.
So she's kind of right, but yeah, I think she's just kind of rattling off things of that are already kind of in play, and that can't be undone essentially.
Look, and I think it's also important to consider like the psychology of Alicent Hightower. When she was a young girl, her dad basically made her seduce the mourning king, the king who was mourning like the loss of his own wife.
Her best friend's dad.
Her best friend's dad, all right? She's never really been in charge of her own life, Alicent. She's got some serious familial trauma and generational trauma that she's dealing with. There is a lot going on with this character.
Yeah.
This is her best friend, Rhaenyra, her former best friend, her childhood best friend, also maybe lesbian situationship. Impossible to know. And it's very complicated. So there are a lot of people who look at this situation and want Alicent to just be like, whoopsie daisies. It's like, that's not going to happen. That's not what's going to happen. Now, how this conversation plays out longer term, I think is really interesting, and we'll probably see some of how that goes over the rest of the season, because like, I definitely think that Rhaenyra, as a result of this conversation, 100% realizes what happened. Oh my God. As he was dying, he thought he was talking to me and he was talking to you.
Yep.
And I think Alicent completely understands, oh my God,
Yeah.
he thought he was talking to you and he was talking to me.
Yeah.
And he wasn't talking about the Aegon I thought he was talking about. And I've put all of this in motion. And this war is my fault, singularly.
Yeah.
One person is now holding the responsibility of all of the lives that have been and will be lost. That is going to impact her somehow. So especially considering what you just said, like she has lost hand. She's lost some power, right? She's not running the show. Otto is gone. Aegon is a fucking loose cannon. Like it's a mess. Her lover boy, Kristen Cole, is now the hand of the king and also head of the Kingsguard. Like it's a mess. I feel like Alicent is going to have some pullback here. I think there's going to be, I don't know if she'll go full double agent, but like something is going to happen as a result of Rhaenyra and Alicent having these realizations. One thing that does happen right here at the end, after Alicent leaves, Rhaenyra's face lets us know that she now knows there is no way around this war.
Yeah.
So I think all this pushback she's been giving her small council, no, we're not going to unleash the dragons. No, we can avoid this. Like, that's going to be gone.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, maybe even before this conversation, maybe there was a shadow of a doubt in the back of her mind that her dad did change his mind at the last second.
And certainly during the conversation, you see that she lives that.
Yes.
Right? You watch her face like, oh my God, she cries that tear.
Yeah.
Like, he really did switch up. She goes through all the emotions that I think Alicent goes through after, because she's like, I fucked up. He really did name Aegon. All this shit I've put in motion, this is my fault.
Yeah.
And then...
But to get this now confirmation that, in fact, her dad was very much, never wavered. All of that is right. It is her inheritance. This is what he wanted. Like, now she just has 100% in her mind that this was meant to be hers.
And the usurper has to die.
Yeah, and I think that gives her, that opens her up to playing all the cards that she's got in her hand.
Also, when Alicent walked off, I was like, and run, Rhaenyra, run. Like, she's got guards right outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, interesting, because I think the implication is that Alicent does not sound the alarm.
Yeah, I think
she lets her leave.
I do think, I think that they're both, that there's enough respect there that they're letting each other walk out
under a banner of truce type of thing.
Yes.
Just interesting.
Yeah.
But wow, yeah, that was a heavy scene, man. A lot of heavy breathing between these two women in that scene as well. And just wild stuff. Did not see that coming. I was like, what are you doing? The whole time she's like sneaking in. I was like, this is the stupidest, the worst idea ever. And there's just like so much on the line, which is why I have to believe that a lot is going to happen as a result of that meeting down the road. So that was it, man. We'll see where things go from here. This was an interesting episode because it felt a little bit less like action-packed than the first two.
It was definitely like a settle-in, move some pieces around type of episode, set some more things up for sure. It was kind of classic early in a season Game of Thrones style stuff.
Yeah, really loved it though. Still had a lot of fun watching it, and I'm loving that we're getting these long ones, man. I'm very appreciative of them not shortchanging us. Like, we're getting our money's worth. We're going over 60 minutes every time, and that's meaning a lot to me. But yeah, the end definitely got my blood pumping. I was like, oh my God, this is...
Yes, tense stuff.
Yeah. What was the name of the Septa in Game of Thrones?
Unella. Septa Unella.
Oh, yeah. She's rocking the straight-up Septa Unella costume, man. That really brought me back. Brought me back to the good old days. Remember, in addition to our sponsor-based public episodes, Barrett and I will be releasing an ad-free episode on Thursday and every Thursday of this season, exclusively on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, where we dive deeper into each episode with further digestion and discussion driven by hotline calls from listeners. Subscribe on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles now and enjoy a 7-day free trial so you can see how awesome those episodes are and enjoy the bonus episodes driven by hotline calls for the first 2 episodes of the season. And of course, on Thursday, our new one for episode 3 will drop. Patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Also, please support our sponsors all season long by using the URLs and codes provided in the description of this episode. That is how we pay the bills and stay in business here at Bolin Media, where we have some other shows for you, including my podcast, the Ross Bolin Podcast. If you're an F1 fan, check out Formula Bone, hosted by Jared J-Bone Borislow, where every week he gives you a preview and a recap of every race, all F1 season long. You can check him out on youtube.com/@FormulaBone or on the podcast platforms @FormulaBone on social media as well. If you're watching The Acolyte, check out Children of the Watch, if you're watching The Acolyte. And if you're a Houston sports fan, check out Banging the Can. I will have a new episode dropping later this week. You can follow me, Ross, on Twitter and Instagram @WRBolin. Mr. Dudley, where can the people follow you to keep up with all your other content?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter @BarrettDudley.
Go to bolinmedia.com/shop to grab yourself some merch. Make sure you holler at us on social media anytime. DMs, mentions, replies, whatever. We are there. Also follow the show on social media. Just search Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on X. We're everywhere. Putting out clips from the show. It means a lot to us if y'all share those clips. If you comment on them, if you like them, that also helps us grow. Again, please rate, review, subscribe, turn on notifications, comment, do everything you can. Helps us out. Barrett, any last words?
See you on Patreon.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We look forward to hearing everyone's reactions on Patreon as well as reading them on social media. Until next time, That one egg was 40 eggs?